All right. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to open the meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals for Rhinebeck, Town of Rhinebeck, for September 18th. The first order of business, as usual, is approval of the minutes for the August 21st meeting. Has everybody had an opportunity to see the revised meeting minutes?
Yes.
Okay, Tim, again, thank you for your edits.
There's one item missing that we've got to review with Michelle.
Okay.
Chris and I will take care of that. Just square footage. I want to make sure we have the right number.
All right, so you know
There's
what
some
correction to
blanks.
make?
You'll see two blanks on the first page.
Right,
Right.
okay. So you'll fill that in?
So, two little comments.
Okay.
Bottom of page 1, missing, might be a word, might be a letter, can't quite tell. And then, bottom of page 3, a site visit was made on July 27th. Maybe you could just say by the board, because I think we were all there.
No, I wasn't. I was going to bring that up.
Okay, so a site visit by, what are those, Scott, Catherine, Richard, and Dave. That's all I found.
Anything else? Questions, comments, concerns? Okay, then I would make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes subject to the changes that have been suggested by David and by Tim. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great, carried. All right, we only have one new application this evening, I believe, correct, John?
Yes.
Okay, and correct, Chris?
Yes.
All right, and that is the Birnbaum?
That's you.
All right, so what we'd ask you to do is to come on up, go up to the mic, and what we're doing right now is just looking at your application. If you could explain it to us, we read it, and you submitted a bunch of stuff for us, which is great.
Yes.
And you will be, hold the distinction of being the first applicant
Ever.
ever in history to have our new projector there. It's a big deal. It took a lot, but we got it. So, but anyway,
Did you sign my?
so anyway, just if you could just lead the board through what you want to do generally, and assuming there's enough information, we can accept it. We may ask for some other information, but just basically tell us what you want.
Well, my name is Glenn Birnbaum, 110 Stone Church Road. I'm applying for an area variance. It's for a 3,200 square feet. And if I can point up here.
Sure, absolutely.
We have 22.
Okay, I got a pointer? Pointer, wow, let's see. Oh yeah, here we go. So this is my property, it's 12 acres. This piece of property here is in the Winnicke Land Trust, which this is 3 acres here, this is 9 acres here. This is my building envelope within the Winnicke Land Trust. And I'm proposing to put accessory structure right here in this location in that building envelope, which is going to be a wood frame barn of 3,200 square feet, and I have the plans there.
Right.
And I'd like to use this building for farm equipment and just general farm use. I also, this property here, this road here is actually part of the Landsman Kill Trail, which we're part of the Landsman Kill Trail Association. And somewhere down the line, my fiance and myself would maybe like to get horses down the road and be able to enjoy the property.
Okay. Now, is there a barn that's currently there that's going to be taken down and something substituted for it, or is it just putting?
Well, no, there's, up in this area here somewhere, there's a small, it's like a 10 by 12 shed.
Okay,
That will be removed because I have too many accessory structures, so I offered to have that removed off the property, which is not a problem, so.
all right. Yeah, I saw a letter, I think, from Michelle.
Yes, so then I'll have, there's a small garden, like an 8 by 10 garden shed here, it's my house, that's a garage there, and that'll be the third accessory structure and application there.
All right.
First house.
And I know you submitted photographs of the property, which is great.
Yeah, I can, well, when that thing goes back, I can show you what you're looking at according to my property lines.
Okay.
Is the easement here as well?
Yup. So where I have written on their front line, that would be facing, the area is right in this area right here, where the barn would be going. So front would be facing Stone Church Road, and the back line is, of course, here, and the two side lines. And I mean, where I'm looking to put this thing really has like zero impact. This property here is Morris's, it's Cedar Heights Orchards. This is all in Winnicke Land Trust as well. There's no further building envelopes in this piece of property here, and I think it's 61 acres that's left. And so the only other place that's here, and if you look at the geographic of the land, it's like this thing is like kind of tucked in between like hillsides, so it really can't be seen from the road. And it can't be seen from any of the neighbors, at least it's, you know, I can't see it having any like negative impact on anybody. And that's one of the reasons why Winnicke chose that spot to put the building envelope for zero impact on viewers or neighbors.
Okay. And I see that you gave us some renderings of what the barn's gonna look like, which is great.
Yes,
Yes, for that.
doing it in traditional fashion. It's going to be a rough cut timber frame and asphalt sheathing, so no reflective or board and batten siding. It's going to look just like a traditional 1800s barn.
Yeah.
What, if you know, what goes on around you in the land trust? Do people hike in there or?
No, it's actually a land conservancy. So the only part of the land that's open to public, that we leave open to use is the Lansby Trail for the horses. So the whole Lansby Trail Association has quite a few miles of trails.
Can you point that out?
Well, this road here,
Yep.
that's an old roadway that used to go back here to Morris's property, but that roadway is part of the Lansby Trail Association.
Thank you.
So when you say Winnicke Land Trust, you mean conservation easement?
Yes, there's a conservation easement, yes.
And would you have a copy of that, or can we, it would be offered to approve something that the,
Oh, yes, I can get a I don't have a copy on me, but I can get a copy of, I have a copy of the land easement. So like I say, this Morris's property here is also in Winnicke Land Trust, and conservation. I went to Winnicke also, they're drawing something up for me to give their approval.
great.
So, yeah, to show that what I'm proposing to do is okay with them.
Perfect.
Questions, concerns by the board members?
Will the barn have any sort of electricity or?
It's gonna have electricity, but no plumbing, no septic or anything like that. And I don't even know when the electrical, it's gonna be future, but eventually somewhere like that, like to it.
All right, I don't have any questions. I know, David, you'd like to get the documentation. So if you could supply the easement.
That would be no
documentation,
problem.
And then again, getting some information from Winnicke, what their feelings are about it, that's great too.
Okay, absolutely.
I don't have a problem. Anybody have any other concerns or questions or want some more information about the application? Richard?
I was talking, I might have missed a question. Was the question, is there a residential use? Or maybe that wasn't a question. If not, that's my question.
Is this for resident?
Yeah. Is this new structure going to be used now or in the future for residential purposes? For
You mean-
living?
No, sir.
Thank you.
No, sir.
No plumbing, Richard.
No,
Yeah,
no
Actually,
plumbing,
no
no septic.
electricity.
No, basic electricity in the future?
Yeah.
Yeah, none either in the future. It's got no intent to
No,
be.
the electricity might be,
Oh, yes, electricity in the future, yes.
but no plumbing.
Thank you.
All right, I'd make a motion at this time to accept the application subject to the additional information that we've requested. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right.
And for the conservation easement, just make sure that you include the attachments that have, there's usually a map
Baseline
with the building
documentation.
envelope on it.
Yes, they'll actually draw me up to it at Winnicke. They'll put it right on the map where I want to proposed the building. right on there, right to scale, I'll have you take care of that, so you have that.
Good.
Okay.
Oh,
And, yes, sir.
should the map that goes into our file have the demolition shown?
Well, they went on the other shed.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what happened with the other shed is, that shed was there for, I don't know for how long, but it's been there before I bought the property, but it was never, it's like hidden in this like little stretch of woods here. There was never a permit for it, so it doesn't show up on my property card. So Michelle Turk said, being that there's no property card, I need a demolition permit, she said, just get it off the property, if that makes any sense.
Okay, so, but I think what you're getting at is,
I'm gonna put a condition.
there should be a condition in the resolution or somewhere.
She
saying
has
that
it here. It says that I can't, what does it say? My pre-application conference indicate, I indicate the intention to remove the shed indicated in the closed map. Once removal is confirmed, you will no longer need a special use permit from planning board.
We can just put that in.
Yeah.
Put a condition.
We'll put a condition in. That-
Okay.
No, that's a good point. All right. When's the public hearing for October?
10/16.
Okay, I'd make a motion that we put this on for a public hearing on 10/16. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. I probably should have asked you this first. Can you make 10/16?
Yes, absolutely.
The way the process goes is that you'll basically do the same thing. Your neighbors will be notified that this application is pending, and they can come and ask you questions, voice concerns, or support, or whatever.
Okay,
Okay, so we'll kind of do the same thing, only in October.
absolutely, thank you.
All right,
Thank you very
and,
much.
Catherine has agreed to take on the resolution. And then, according to the cheat sheet here, this is a type 2 application, all right, under 6, is it?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
617.
Yeah, C12, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I make a motion that we deem this to be a type 2 action under that section. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. And apparently we have some referrals. We have to refer to the planning board.
Yes.
Yes, just to the Rhinebeck Planning Board, CAB and WAC aren't required.
Okay. Motion required for that?
No, but
Yeah.
it would be a good idea, how long should conservation
Is that
How
how many
long is it?
pages?
Yeah.
I don't know, it's quite extensive, I mean, it has like 100 pictures of the property, and I guess you don't need that. The actual easement?
We don't need the baseline, but I was going to say, including a copy of the easement in the planning board referral would be a good idea.
Right.
Just so that they can see that it's in the building envelope. It'll smooth the way, I think, a little bit. So if you could bring 2 copies for Chris. that
Not
would
a
be
problem, absolutely not a problem.
And I sit on the board of Winnicke Land Trust, and I can tell you a lot of work and thought goes into figuring out where the building envelopes should be, not only considering the character of the community, but also the conservation value of the property. So just so you know, a lot of work goes into that decision-making.
Thank you.
Is the farming that's done with your equipment your farm?
No, when I take care of this apple orchard here, from Morris, and I do a lot of farming next to Zeke's, and just hobby farming now. I do some pumpkins.
Okay. I think that's it. So we'll see you on the 16th,
Yes.
okay? And just supply the extra information you can give to Chris.
Okay.
She'll supply it to you.
Okay, thank you so
Great.
much.
See you in about a month.
Thank you, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, that's it for the new business. We have one public hearing, and that's the Kufner. So, you know what to do. Come on up and just basically briefly explain the change that was made to the original application. And good evening, and give Chris or Kim a chance to get this all lined up.
Yes.
What do you want to see the rendering.
Yeah, the Rhinebeck building, that's only just slight changes, I recollect, that you and your neighbor worked on. And, because there was that change, we extended the public hearing till tonight.
And the main reason was actually because the elevation, we didn't know how high the building would be, right?
So, here you go. Those are the new renderings.
That's the wrong one.
Okay.
Or maybe further down, yeah. This is further. You have a little further? No, for the roof? Yeah, for the height, please put it the ones for the height. If you want to. I think, yeah, go a little further down. Yeah, and then go further down. There's the height.
So,
So if you can just explain the difference, the change.
yes, so we took the instructions of the how to measure the elevation of the height of the building, and we measured that the existing building is 16.5 feet high. The addition will be another 2 feet, so it will be 18.5. So within the 20 feet elevation that is required by an accessory dwelling the limit is 20 feet, so we are within that. That was the main consideration for this hearing. Now, this is a terrible picture, but it's just the roof was put on the porch in order to mitigate the light impact on the neighbor. And we have also submitted a picture of a light that will actually shine down and not shine out. So we will, is that here somewhere?
No,
Yes.
I think it could.
I have it.
Have it in the back.
Carrie has it.
Okay. I don't know exactly if we get this one, but it's going to be something like that. And that's really the only remaining obstacle, I think.
Yeah. You may want to make a note that the record reflect that Mr. Lipscomb is not present this evening.
That is correct. Mr. Lipscomb is not here, but I understand that the changes were made in conjunction with talking with Mr. Lipscomb. And again, I think the board has done it before, but I'll do it again tonight because we don't see it all the time. That is to commend you folks for working with each other and being great neighbors and coming to a reasonable solution that you both can live with, which is great.
Well, I would like to thank the board for being, patient, if nothing else. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure. Any questions, concerns? No? All right, then at this time I'd make a motion that we close the public hearing. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. That's it.
Can I ask a question? Last time you said that you would be able to make a decision today to bring the height issue. Is that possible today, or?
Stay for a moment.
Oh, okay.
To be continued.
Get comfortable.
Yeah,
I'm done.
you were done.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's it for the public hearings, and I know we've discussed the Kuchner application, and we've asked Richard to write it up, resolution, which you've done,
Yes.
and any discussion before he reads it?
I should know. I've been on the board 3 or 4 years, but do we vote on it prior or do we?
No, you'll read it,
Right.
then we'll have one final round of conversation, and then we'll vote on it.
Excellent.
So why don't you have at it?
I shall. ZBA case 977, applicant, the property owner is Stephanie Kuffner, represented by Patrick Logan from Rodenhausen, Chowell, and Polidoro, referred to as the applicant. The appeal is from the town of Rhinebeck zoning administrator's determination letter dated February 26, 2019, requiring 2 area variances. Subsequently, during the planning board review process, the town's planning consultant, Jim Levy, discovered 2 additional variances that would be required based on the number of structures that currently exist on the property the zoning administrator issued a second determination letter dated May 1st, 2019, requesting a total of 4 variances. Applicant amended their application to conform to that letter. The property is at 7173 Strauss Lane in Rhinebeck. The parcel number is in the resolution. The applicant's property is approximately 6.15 acres in the RC5 zone. The applicant, Stephanie Kuttner, again, is represented by Patrick Lowe. Description of the project. The applicant proposes to add 530 square feet to an existing apartment that is located above the garage for additional living space. There will be 530 square feet of unfinished space below. The current square footage of the apartment is 805, with 805 unfinished downstairs. Supplemental rendering of proposed with floor plan were submitted for the ZBA's review on August 21st of this year. A revised survey submitted on August 21st to the indicating a rear yard distance of 40 feet. It was revised from 36 feet, resulting in a rear yard variance of now 10 feet from the original 14. A question arose from the ZBA as to the applicant's compliance with Rhinebeck zoning code as to height restrictions based on the new addition. Measurements were submitted to the ZBA on August 22nd, 2019, indicating the height of the addition will be 1825, which does not exceed height restrictions for accessory structures. On September 3rd, 2019, applicant submitted additional photographs, housings, drawings, outdoor lighting samples, and correspondence. And I would add to my resolution these photographs and drawings and outdoor lighting were discussed at the public hearing of September today, 2019. I would add that in. And I can give that to Chris. Number of area variances required. The applicant requires 4 accessory dwelling units square footage. Section 12568E4, permitted maximum is 900. The applicant is requesting a variance of 435 for a total of 1,335 square feet for the accessory dwelling. Rear yard setback is 50 feet. They're requesting the 40 feet, the 10-foot variance. Total accessory structure square footage. All roofs, structures in the aggregate shall not exceed 1,500 square feet of floor area. The total with this addition will be 3,906.5. The variance is 2,406.5. And the fourth, no more than 3 roof structures permitted. There's a total of 5 currently on the property. No new structures are being constructed, just the one expansion. Timeliness of the appeal. The applicant filed an appeal with this board on March 14, 2019, and has paid the requisite fee. An amended appeal was filed on May 15. The appeals were filed within the 60 days of the ZEO's decision. Appeal from and thus it is timely. On April 17, 2019, the board deemed the application complete and accepted it for review. The board accepted the amended application on May 15 and continued its review. After accepting this appeal, we determined this matter should be classified as a Type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act because the project involves granting of area variances for individual setback variances and for the expansion of a minor accessory residential structure. No further review is required. Dutchess County Planning Board returned this application was not required to be referred to them. The Rhinebeck Planning Board, it was referred to them on June 5th. The Planning Board recommended the ZBA rely upon its own study of the facts in deciding the application in accordance with the criteria and procedures set forth in the town code, including input of neighbors. The Planning Board found the requested area variance raised no significant planning or environmental issues. The town of Rhinebeck Conservation Advisor was not required to be referred to, nor was the Rhinebeck Waterfront Advisory Committee. Public hearing was held on this appeal was duly advertised and held at the Town Hall on June 19th. Laura Simmons, residing at 22 McGuire Lane in Rhinebeck, and Monique Sagara and Christopher Lipscomb, residing at 7 Mansakenning Drive asked questions at the public meeting concerning the nature of the addition, the variances requested, and the location of the property. Patrick Logan answered those questions on behalf of the applicant. However, Monique Segar and Christopher Lisman did not have a complete understanding of the application. Patrick Logan volunteered to meet with them after the meeting and answer their additional questions and provide the site plan and photographs to them. The public hearing was continued to July 17th, 2019 meeting, and then continued to August 21st meeting. Monique Segar and Christopher Lipscomb raised, among other concerns, lighting concerns in particular during leaf-off conditions in the winter. Segar and Lipscomb met with and communicated with the applicant between the public hearings and the site visit to discuss these concerns and try to mitigate these concerns. The applicant proposed to install a roof to the deck area, which would shield interior and exterior lighting, and install lights which would further shield the lighting to address some of the concerns of Monique Segar and Christopher Lipscomb at the public hearing on August 21st, as well as this evening. Just in August, Monique Segar and Christopher Lipscomb indicated that they thought this proposed design was an improvement and offered a better design, and it offered a better design to alleviate their concerns. I think we should also add in what John had suggested, to note that Monique Segar and Christopher Lipscomb were not at the meeting, the September meeting.
And there should be some indication that the public hearing was continued till tonight, and it was closed,
Right.
and that kind of stuff. Will clean up that.
Yeah, thank you. Site visit on July 27, 2019, the ZBA members, Scott Bergen, Catherine Clark, David Tobias, Timothy Allenbrook, and myself visited the applicant's property and surrounding neighborhoods to observe firsthand on-site conditions. Tim, you said you were not?
Yeah, I
Okay.
was actually in Michigan.
I thought I was talking to you at that. Okay. All right. On the site, the property characteristics, settings, surrounding environment, and the character of the surrounding neighborhood. The purpose of this site visit was to observe the property and the surrounding area to inform the board members for their upcoming decision. The site visit was conducted solely to gather information, and no business or deliberations were conducted during the site visit. Monique Segar and Christopher Lipscomb, neighbors residing at the address I gave earlier, were present at the site visit. Stephanie Kuffner and Gerald Kuffner were present at the site visit. The ZBA members and the Kuffners also visited the Lipscomb property and viewed the Kuffner site from there to review the potential impact to the Lipscomb property. Balancing test. In our review of the variances sought, we have considered the benefit to the applicant if the area variances are granted as weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such grant. We determined that the variances requested should be granted because there is no detriment. I'll repeat that. We determined that the variance requested should be granted because there is no detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by granting this variance. Consideration of the 5 factors. In our review of the variances sought, we've considered 5 factors as required by 125-124C1 of the Town of Rhinebeck zoning law. A, if the variances are granted, will they cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or cause a detriment to nearby properties? We find the answer to this question is no. An undesirable change will not occur in the character of the neighborhood or cause a detriment to nearby properties by the granting of these variances. The applicant is asking for an addition to an existing structure. The neighboring houses are far away, and there is a wooded area between the addition in question and the neighbors' houses. At the June and July public hearings, the objecting neighbors were Monique Segar and Christopher Lipscomb. However, subsequently, discussions took place between the applicant and the neighbors, resulting in revisions to the proposed design of the addition. Monique Segar and Christopher Lipscomb visited with the Kuffners on July 27th, the ZBA site visit. The revisions included a roof to the deck area to shield interior and exterior lighting and the use of neighbor-friendly lighting. Monique Segar and Christopher Lipscomb neighbors indicated at the August 21st, 2019 public hearing that they thought the revived plans were an improvement and a better design to address their concerns. B, can the benefits sought by the applicant be achieved by some method feasible other than the area variance? We find this answer to be no. Building the addition to the north is not possible due to the existing septic location. Building to the west not possible due to existing leach field location. And building to the east would require blasting due to the large rock ledge. Only remaining option was an expansion to the south. The applicant also worked with their neighbors to redesign some of the addition to address their neighbors' concern with flooding. Are the requested area variances substantial? We find the answer to this question is no. The rear yard variance of 10 feet and the square footage addition are not substantial. The applicant's proposed addition is reasonable and logical given the topography and layout of the property. The variance for the number of roof structures is not substantial because those buildings are already on the property. No new buildings are being constructed to this application, only an addition on an existing building. Will the proposed variances have an adverse impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district? We find the answer to this question is also no. The applicant will only cut one tree. The applicant's property and neighbors' properties are heavily wooded. And finally, is this alleged difficulty self-created? The answer to this question is yes. The applicant should have been aware of the existing zoning requirements. However, the applicant's proposed addition is reasonable and logical given the topography and layout of the property. 14, in addition to our review of the 5 factors and balancing test, we must determine if these requested variances represent the minimum variance is necessary and adequate to accomplish what is requested by the applicant, and that also preserve and protects the character of the neighborhood and the health, safety, and welfare of the community. We find the answer to this question is yes. The applicant is seeking this addition to accommodate their growing family. The addition is limited to where it can be placed due to the septic system, leach field, and large rock ledge. Based on analysis of the 5 factors discussed above, we find the balancing test favors granting the area variances sought. Now, therefore, be it resolved, based on all of the facts described above, and upon the reasoning described above, 1, the ZBA hereby grants applicant the 4 area variances. The benefit to the applicant by granting these variances outweighs any detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such a grant. Our decision is supported by a balancing of the factors discussed above. And then I list the 4 variances as I set forth before. The addition to the existing apartment will not cause a detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community. The area where the addition will be is heavily wooded and will not disrupt the character of the neighborhood. Moreover, the applicant has discussed the lighting concerns with the neighbors and has redesigned its proposal to address these concerns. The ZBA hereby grants the variances from 12527 and 12568, subject to the conditions stated below. They'll be expressly contingent upon the applicant's full payment to the town of any and all fees, escrows due, in full compliance with the fee reimbursement of the town of Rhinebeck zoning. These variances shall not be deemed granted until all such fees are paid in full. The granting of the variances does not absolve the applicant from having to secure any other required permits or approvals. The proposed structures should be constructed in conformity with the application and plan submitted. The area variances shall be null and void unless the proposed addition is commenced. This is important, within 1 year. So you have to start the work within 1 year, or else you would lose the variance. Okay, so let's Scott.
Well, I think, first of all, a nice job on the resolution. I know you put a lot of time in it, and thank you, Kim. Any discussion about the resolution, any changes, additions?
I have 1 or 2 minor comments.
Okay, let's hear it.
If it's okay. Paragraph 10, about halfway down, it says, however, Monique Segura and Christopher Lipscomb did not have a complete understanding. I don't think we can get into people's heads, but I think we can say they expressed that they did not have a complete understanding.
Okay, I agree.
Fine about signing that, if that works. And then at the bottom of the last line of 11, could we say review the potential visual impact? I think that's all we did.
Paragraph 11, the last.
The last line there, review the potential visual impact.
We were also making a judgment about impacts to community character, which is not necessarily always visual.
Not only visual, okay, I'm not sure that I was looking for anything more than that lighting issue myself. Okay,
I mean, you're looking at it, so there's a, and it's from Mr. Lipscomb's standpoint, there's a visual impact, right? There's a change, and then there's a difference in what he sees, and you were examining that too. And that to me is the visual impact, but at the same time, you were also absorbing what the area surrounding the property and what the surrounding community looked like, and whether this change was going to be making a change to the character of that community, separate and apart from the impact to Mr. Lipscomb. So, and that's the only why I'm saying I see the two as having different identities.
all right.
If that makes sense.
So should we add impact to the Lipscomb property and the community?
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. I think
Yeah,
that
that
captures what Dave's.
Yep.
Sure, that
Okay.
works.
All right. Good.
So I just have a little nit on the end of 12, and then just making it plural, because it's variance is not just
Right.
variance. So that's just a nit. The one thing that I think I would like to add, because I think it's important, is the fact that the structure that's being proposed is going to look a lot better than the structure that's actually there. I mean, to me, it's a vast improvement. I mean, to the structure that there is the structure that's there, but you guys are really doing a lot to it. And as you can see from our new board up there, I think it's really substantial, the improvement in the way the structure is going to look.
So maybe
so
something can
somewhere
be
in there-
added to the end of 13A?
That's where I first did it, yep. Or you could even do it, in D, or just somewhere, because...
Yeah, I don't think this is really impacting the environment, but I think your suggestion would be a great fit for 13A.
And that's where I put it originally, but yeah, something along lines that
The board agrees that,
the structure that's being proposed will be a great improvement over the structure that currently exists, or
Yeah.
something like that.
good.
So you can
Well,
say it's not only not having a negative impact, it's
I think
actually
that's very
going to have
positive.
a positive impact.
Yeah, and that's my feeling.
I agree.
So I would just add that, maybe something along
I
those
think
lines.
that's a good point.
And those were the only thoughts I had.
Although we love your house the way it is as well.
Yeah, I'm not trying to disparage the way it looks now, but I'm just saying this really looks nice. So, yes, I didn't mean to disparage what's there, but I just think this is really a lot. It's very nice. Any other comments, concerns?
I just want to say that I think Richard did a really good job of capturing sort of how the process evolved and, what went into the final product. So it was really well done, Richard. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim.
Okay, so any other questions, concerns, comments? Richard, do you want to make a motion?
Yes, I
To
make a motion to accept this resolution and accept all 4 variances being applied for.
With the amendments.
With the amendments that have been
Amendments
suggested.
that Chris has
You and
certainly
I
has
will
done.
work
But
together.
then, yes, you two will work together.
Yes, we will.
I'll second that.
I'll put my phone on mute. No.
Okay, so all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? All right, I think we have to poll the board.
Yeah.
All right,
Tim.
so Chris, could you be kind enough to do that?
Yes. Tim Allenbrook,
Yep.
Richard
Yes.
Caruso, Catherine Clark,
Yes.
Scott Bergen,
Yes.
Dave Fox.
Indeed.
All right. Done.
Thank you.
Thank you again.
Thank you again.
That was
This
really-
this is the way it's supposed to work. It rarely does. It's nice every now and then.
Now, off to the planning board.
Yeah, that's
Okay, thank you, good night.
right. All right, good night. There are two things that we've taken care of, Kufner. Just for the record, Barisi, there is a outstanding violation, I understand.
Yes,
And-
we spoke with Michelle Turk just to kind of get a status update. And so the deck is still an existing violation. There's some issues with how it's currently done, so they're working together, but it is still an open violation. And as such, the ZBA can't issue a final determination until that violation has been resolved.
Right, and the applicant has been notified, I understand.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I know.
So we'll continue the public hearing, continue that till the next meeting, and hopefully the violation will be taken care of and we can move forward.
There was a building permit applied for, but they need to make some changes before they can get a certificate of occupancy for the deck, so that's where that is.
Okay.
And I also just want to state for the record too, that there are, and the applicant has also been informed of this, but there are 3 variances that are required. They came initially for having the structure in front of their house. And then when it was reviewed by the planning board, it was, and then some of the measurements were actually put on the map, which we didn't have initially. So there's a side yard setback, and there is a front yard setback. I talked with the planning board and the planning board consultants following the last meeting, and I do agree that there is a front yard setback. It should be at least 20 feet from the road. It actually should be further anyway, given where the principal structure is. But anyway, it shouldn't affect this application moving forward because you'll just apply the same variance test as you always do. But anyway, they don't need to amend their application. We're just stating it for the record, and they know that there are 3 variants that are required.
And that doesn't affect the public hearing and the notification to the
No,
neighbors?
because
or
the
anything?
project hasn't really changed.
Right.
It's just a matter of the number of variances.
All right, and then I think the last thing is plat. And,
Yes.
that should be addressed as well.
So Mr. Platt has reached out to Chris and asked for an adjournment, further adjournment. As you may recall, where things were left, the town board had submitted a letter to the zoning board of appeals expressing an opinion on the appeal. Mr. Platt asked for an adjournment at the last meeting to be able to address the town board's letter. He reached out to Chris and asked for another adjournment. He indicated in the course of that request that he was talking to the town board about a possible zoning amendment. He didn't really offer much in the way of detail about that, but I think that we had a discussion with Scott and we recommended, Mr. Platt's not here, it was our recommendation that the board grant his request for an adjournment of tonight's public hearing. The implication was made in his request that the board be willing to adjourn consideration of his appeal until he does whatever it is that he's planning on doing with the town board, which I don't think there's a basis for that request. It's really anything that happens with the town board with regard to a zoning amendment is something that's separate and apart from the application, the appeal that he's made from the determination that's been made by the zoning enforcement officer. So our recommendation to the board is that the public hearing be adjourned tonight until October's meeting, that a notice be sent by the board to Mr. Platt through Chris, indicating that this was adjourned and that the board intends to continue the public hearing in October, that the board expects that, and we'll work with you, Chris, on the content of this, but that the board expects that in between now and the October meeting, Mr. Platt will address the town board issue if he desires to do so, and that it's going to be the board's intention at the October meeting to close the public hearing and to begin work on issuing a decision.
And I did talk to John about that. I think that's fair. But this matter has been on for some time. This is the second request for an adjournment, and it would be my recommendation that be the last, and that we do close the public hearing in October and move forward with the interpretation. So
I think it would be prudent for us to act with a motion tonight to be made to adjourn the public hearing this evening and to proceed with sending a notice to Mr. Platt to let him know that the board intends to close the public hearing. Obviously, you also know that if you'll take a little bit of testimony before you close the public hearing at the next meeting. You're always free, if something unexpected happens and you feel like you need additional information for some reason, you're always free to depart what you said your stated intentions were. The key is to make sure we get the decision right. So you're free, if circumstances require, to continue the public hearing yet again, if that happens. But otherwise, you can state that it's your intention to close the public hearing on that night, just so that he has noticed that he has a fair and full opportunity to prepare whatever additional information he wants to get in front of the board before the public hearing is closed.
So I'm willing to make that motion, make a motion that we continue the public hearing until October 16th, that we notify Mr. Platt that it is our intention that we will be closing, at least from the facts we know now, we'll be closing the public hearing on October 16th, and that we will send a notice to him in writing, informing him of this fact, so that he has the opportunity, nearly a month, to respond to the town board's letter, which he's had for probably, 30 some odd days at least, because I think that letter was delivered. He had it before the last meeting, and it was fair the first time around in particular, because the town board had just submitted that correspondence. It was pretty close to the public hearing, and
an applicant has a legal right to
And the
provide
applicant has a
any
legal right,
information that
so-
comes in
right.
during the public hearing.
so aside from the legal right, I think it was just the fair, right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I guess he has had some conversation with some town board folks, but the bottom line is, we want to, keep this thing moving, and, so again, I make the motion that we continue the public hearing until the 16th. We notify Mr. Platt that we intend to close it on the 16th, and we expect that any response he has to the town board's correspondence or any other information he wants to provide will be supplied before the 16th. Do I have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, so that's the way we'll proceed on Platt. Of course, you'll talk.
Will the letter to him make clear that whatever discussions he's having with the town board are separate from what he's
Yes,
having
yes,
with us?
we'll point that
It's
out.
like,
Yeah.
We need to finish our work based on the zoning law as it is now.
Mhm. Yep.
We don't even really have a full understanding of what his email didn't make clear what they're even talking about. So. But the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter. They're just separate issues.
Yeah.
Separate.
Right. Okay, John, Kim, anything else that we need to discuss?
Just given that the agenda had been posted, and it's been online, I just want to say that Mark Kaminsky had asked that the Brindle Valley, or Brindle, Brindle Valley be tabled,
That's
which is
the
why we're not.
choo-choo train, right?
I'm sorry?
Yes.
That's the choo-choo train.
The garden.
And then
Garden,
Marriott had been withdrawn.
Right, as I understand it, no, upon review by the planning board, it was determined that.
It was a grandfathered in.
Yeah.
No variance.
No variances were required, so that's done. All right, great. And thank you for bringing us into the
20th century.
20th century. We'll worry about more progress later, but it looks fantastic and really was very helpful tonight.
And is that your worst?
No, it was taken out west though with wild horses.
I mean, we're almost like a real zoning board of appeals.
We're
Yeah.
getting there,
Look at
getting
that.
there, for
Could
sure.
be us, though.
Yeah, well. Anyway, all right, so I think that's
Any
all.
suggestions about that? You're all able to see it and,
No,
I think it looks great.
very good.
okay.
Maybe I can ask Amanda, were you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yeah, the
So,
only thing we might do in the future is, I don't know if it would be possible to move the microphone that they're going to be speaking into
They will
back a
closer to
little
the
bit,
screen.
so that they can be facing toward the camera and the microphone when they're
okay,
pointing.
fair enough.
Try and see if maybe we can get an extra wire to stretch it. I'm not sure if it'll go that far, but
Okay,
I'll see what we can do.
okay.
Great.
Yeah,
All
because
right.
it was just a little awkward for
Yeah.
him to be turned around the other way, and then you couldn't pick up his voice.
Absolutely.
All right, so motion to adjourn? Do I have a second?
Oh, second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, opposed? All right, we're done. Thank you, Amanda.